retirement income in Kenya, how to build 50,000 Kenyan shillings on a monthly basis once retired. This is part 3 of the retirement planning in Kenya series. Most people don't actually fail at retirement because they did not save enough money. They fail because they never defined what income they were trying to replace. They just hoped that when work ended, things would work out. But hope is not a structure, and hope is not a strategy. In part 1 of this series, we talked about the reality of retirement in Kenya, that expenses do not disappear. We said that pensions as well are misunderstood, and that retirement is a long financial phase, not a single event. In part 2, we talked about investments and why retirement is not about chasing returns, but owning assets that consistently produce income. Take note of the word consistently. So today, in this video, we move from theory now to the practical bit of it. How do you do it? And that is why I'm going to show you a step-by-step how to think about building 50,000 monthly retirement income today in Kenya. The income that we are building is not for luxury and it's not for fantasy. We are building a stable, realistic income that will enable you to live with dignity. And I want to be very clear at the beginning from the word go, so that we understand what we are discussing about. This is not about one investment. This is not about one big lump sum amount of money. This is about stacking simple income sources that work together. So let's start by understanding what this number actually means. 50,000 after retirement. What does 50,000 really mean? What does it mean? In retirement, 50,000 is not a small amount of money. It's not luxury money. Again, we have to say that it's not also luxury. It sits in between. It's not a small amount of money, and it's not luxury money, so it sits in between. And this is why it becomes powerful amount of money. For many retirees in Kenya, the real struggle normally begins when the monthly income drops below the basic needs. And in part one, if I remember well, we talked about your income being cut down to 30 or 40% of what you initially used to get. So your monthly income drops below basic needs. Now, rent or housing still needs to be paid. Food still needs to be bought. Medical costs starts increasing. And transport, utilities, and family responsibilities, they will not magically disappear because you have retired. So when we talk about 50,000 Kenyan shillings per month, we are talking about the basic stability. A situation where you are not consistently borrowing money. You are not depending on your children. You are not panicking every time prices go up, inflation. So this video is about finding that foundation, finding the bare minimum. And now that we've talked about how to build it, the 50,000 structure in mind, we need to set one rule. And so this takes us to section 2 of this video, the non-negotiable reality check, so that we set our bare minimum, our rules. Now, any retirement plan, I've started setting rules. Any retirement plan that depends on one source of income is fragile and might not serve you well. Because there are many things that come in to eat your income. Inflation will not stop. Medical costs will not stay flat. Life will not suddenly become cheaper when you retire. And this is why lump sum fails retirees. Not because money was small, get me clearly, but because the structure was weak and the structure could not support them when they have retired because of these other things that are coming into play. So instead of asking a question, how much money do I need, we need to ask better questions. And the question that we ask is, how do I build monthly income systems? How do I build monthly income streams, several of them, that can serve me for 10, 20, 30 years once retired? And this is why I've got a 3-pillar model that I'm going to use for us to have this discussion. So to reach 50,000 Kenyan shillings per month sustainably, we do not stretch one asset. Like now we concentrate on pension and stretch it to give us 50. We combine 3 simple pillars. Each pillar is light, each pillar is realistic, and so together they work in unison to give you the 50,000 per month mark. So the 3 pillars are, first, we have got pension and fixed income. So the first pillar, pension and fixed income. The second pillar, real assets cash flow. And the third pillar, light business or skill. So I could call it pension and fixed income. Then I'm talking about real assets cash flow. Then I'm talking about light business or skill income. So let's go through them one by one. Pillar 1, pension plus fixed income. We know what pension is. So in pillar 1, the first pillar is your income flow, like the bare minimum, like the flow. And this includes, we have mentioned pension. This includes things like NSSF, employer pension, private pensions, and conservative instruments like bonds or annuities. We've broken down the different types of pensions in part 1 of this series. The role of this pillar 1, is not growth, but rather stability, just to keep you stable. Because at retirement, you want an income that does the following. Number 1, arrives consistently, without failure, without disappointment. Then number 2, does not require much effort. And then number 3, does not stress you. Therefore, a realistic expectation for this pillar is around 15,000 to 20,000 per month. Something that will give you 15,000 to 20,000 per month from pillar number 1. So pillar number 1, we are working on getting 15 to 20,000 per month. Now, to achieve this, a combined retirement pot of around 3 to 4 million shillings is usually sufficient. So for pillar 1, I'm saying that for pillar 1, we are looking at between 15K to 20K. And you need, in pillar 1, you need a pot of between 3 to 4 million shillings. So in summary, in pillar 1 will be giving us 15K to 20K per month. But you need a pot, because we've talked about pension, we need a pot, an account of 3 to 4 million, which will be able to serve us for the time that we shall be retired. This assumes that it's assuming conservative withdrawals or annuity rates. This pillar, what does this pillar do? This pillar protects you on bad months, and it supports you when health declines. It gives you a breathing room. It gives you that breathing space. But this is important. It's not designed to carry your entire retirement. This pillar is not supposed to carry your entire retirement. Pillar 1. Now, I want us to do some basic math in pillar 1, because in pillar 1, we've talked about pension and we've talked about fixed income. So how do you get to 3 or 4 million? So this is by contributing regularly in your pension scheme. And if, for example, if you are in your 30s, if you are 30 years old, you have got 30 years to work. If you contributed, thinking of a number, if you contributed 10,000 every month, you contribute this for 1 year. For 1 year, you'll have 120,000. If you contribute this for 30 years, then we are going to have 120, 33, 6, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So if you start at 30 years old, at 30 years, exactly 30, and you contribute faithfully for the next 30 years, this is the without this, I'm looking for the term. This is not the amount, this is the principal. It will have accrued interest, but I'm just looking at the bare minimum. So if you are 30, so you have got 30 years to work, you're contributing 10,000 every month for 1 year will be times 12, then for 30 years will be 3.6 million. And remember, we have said for pillar 1, we need 15 to 20k per month. So, and this will require a pot of 3 to 4 million. So if we have 3.6 in principle only, if this money is invested, by the time you retire, it will be around 5 million or 6 million, which will be able to serve you in pillar 1 very, very well. Remember now, as we worked with 30 years, as you go to 40 years, when you retire at 40, when you start saving at 40, now you have got only 20 years. If you go at 50, you have got only 10 years. So the amount that you're contributing will definitely have to increase. So we've talked about pillar 1, and we've said that it's not designed to carry your entire retirement. Now let's go to pillar 2 and see what it has for us. Pillar 2 is about fighting inflation. You want something, you want a bucket that will help you to fight inflation. And this includes rental property, SACCO dividends, or well-managed income agriculture. This pillar should also contribute around, so pillar 2 is also contributing at between 15k to 20k per month. And so you want rental property to be giving you 15 or to 20k, SACCOs to be giving you 15 to 20k, or well-managed income from agriculture, which will be giving you 15 to 20k per month. This pillar, I've said that, should also be contributing the same, between 15 to 20,000 per month. And this is where many people make a mistake. Where? Because they focus on the value of the asset instead of the cash flow. For example, you can have a house worth 10 million, but if it doesn't give you consistent cash flow, it's not serving you well. You can have land that is worth 10 million, but if it is not giving you consistent cash flow, it's not serving you well. In retirement, appreciation is a bonus. What you need is cash flow. A modest rental unit that gives you income consistently, or a SACCO or farming agriculture that gives you income consistently. If the income is unreliable, the asset becomes a burden in your old age. I just want to insist here. If you have an asset that is worth 10 million, but in retirement is not giving you consistent cash flow, it becomes a burden in your old age. This pillar 2, does not need to be fancy. It needs to be boring, but dependable. Now, even with these 2 pillars, we still don't want pressure, because if we take the bare minimum, we've taken 15 from pillar 1 and 15 from pillar 2, we are at 30. So that is why we add the 3rd pillar. And the 3rd pillar, pillar 3, I'm just going to call it light business or skill income. Light business or skill income. So this pillar is optional. It's optional, but extremely powerful. This is where income is generated from consulting, because you've got a lot of expertise and knowledge, from teaching or mentoring, because you are knowledgeable, from advisory roles, from digital products, from royalties or light business involvement. The target for this pillar is something between 10k to 15k. The target is between 10k to 15k. This pillar 3, does 3 important things. Number 1, what it does well is to it reduces pressure on your pension so that you are not over reliant on your pension. It reduces the due pressure on your pension. Second, it keeps you mentally active. Remember, we've talked about consulting, we've talked about coaching, we've talked about advisory roles. So it will keep you mentally active so that your mind doesn't become obsolete. Number three, it gives you flexibility so that whenever you want to do something, whenever something comes up that needs quick access of money, you can always switch in and use that money. So this pillar is about, it's not about working full time, it's about leveraging what you already know, the knowledge, the skills that you already know. So for professionals and skilled people, skilled workers, this pillar is often the easiest one to build. Easy one to build, but it's the one that is most ignored. Putting it all together, now when we combine all these, something interesting comes up, something interesting happens, that no single source is stretched, no single asset carries the whole burden. 15 to 20,000 from pensions, pillar 1, 15 to 20,000 from real assets, pillar 2, and 10 to 15,000 from skills or light business, pillar 3. Together, roughly, together that is 50,000 per or more per month when you take the bare minimum. And this is how sustainable retirement income is built. Quietly, gradually, deliberately, but at the same time, you get to diversify what you are doing. I want us to do some math even as we come to finish. And how long does it take you to reach these numbers? We are talking about the bucket in the pension. So how long does it take you to hit these values? Because retirement planning fails when it stays vague without a clear goal. So I've already touched on it briefly. If you're starting in your 30s, you have got 30 years to work. So let's work with that. So if you're around 30 years old and you retire at 60, you have got 30 years before retirement. If you contribute 10,000 every month per year, it's times 12, will be 120,000, and for 30 years will be 3.6 million. You can follow my math here. You are 30 years, so you have got a leverage of 30 years to work. If you're contributing 10,000 every month, per year will be 120,000. For 30 years will be 3.6 million in contribution before that money is invested. If that money is invested, it can go to 4 or 5 million depending with where it's being invested. With conservative returns, now this level of retirement savings will be able to support our 15 to 20,000 per month in retirement income. That means that by simply being consistent, you've already built one full income pillar 1. And during the same 30 years, you don't only stick to pillar 1. You still have time to slowly build real assets or grow circle contributions or develop an income skill starting in your 30s, so that you are not only building one, you are building others. So starting in your 30s is not about intensity, it's about patience and consistency and having structures in place. If you are starting in your 40s, now you have got about 20 years. Assumption you have got 20 years. So to reach the similar pension level, 3.6, you may need to increase your contributions from around 15,000 to 20,000 per month. And that will give you between 180,000 to 240,000 per year. And over 20 years, because you are 40, we have got 3.6 to 4.8 million in contribution again before investment, before growth. And this is why people in their 40s feel pressure, not because it's impossible, but because time has got a cost and time is not on their side anymore. This is where, at this point, real assets and income generating skills become more important, because for them, you can scale them up faster. when you're in your 50s, now you have got 10 years to retirement. Reaching the same level, pension level, requires more contributions. Requires that you are either contributing 30,000 or more per month. And for many people, that is not realistic. So the strategy must change. And at this stage, you focus on protecting what you already have. You reduce unnecessary lifestyle expenses or pressure, and you rely more on assets and skills that generate more income now, not decades later. So this is where light businesses involvement, consulting, advisory work, or teaching become essential but not optional, because skills don't need 30 years to compound. Skills just need commitment. So the core lesson here is simple, that time changes the strategy, not the goal. In your 30s, consistency does the heavy lifting. In your 40s, discipline and stacking does the heavy lifting. In your 50s, income, skills, and protection take priority. But the principle still remains the same. Retirement success comes from building multiple income streams, but not depending on savings, on pensions alone. Why do most people don't reach these numbers? Why is it hard? Now, most people fail to reach 50K per month, not because they didn't work hard, but because they fail because, number one, they rely on one income source. If you're working, you're just relying on one. Number two reason, they chase returns instead of income. Number three reason, they delay asset building from an early age. And number four, they ignore health as a financial factor. So retirement failure is rarely a sudden thing. It happens slowly. It's slow, it's quiet, it's predictable, and that is why it can be avoided. To conclude, therefore, 50,000 Kenyan shillings per month, attaining it is not about luxury, it's about peace, it's about a peace of mind, it's about dependency, being independent. It's about waking up without financial fear. And so in the next video, we are going deeper. We will take this discussion further, and we look at what it takes to build 100,000 monthly retirement income in Kenya, and why that level changes everything. Because 50,000 gives you stability, but 100,000 gives you power, it gives you control, it gives you options. That is the end of this video. I'll be seeing you in the next video, and bye bye for now.